Well, I've lived here all my life, really. Grew up on the north side on George 138. My family had a family restaurant that I went to work when I was 10 years of age and worked thereafter. When I think about Conyers as a child, we were so small. Everyone knew each other, adults knew who the children were, so you couldn't get away with a whole lot of things. I can remember my parents getting phone calls if I left school a little early a couple of times when I was a elementary school age, actually, and before I could get halfway home, someone had called my parents, and here comes the car sliding up to pick me up and get my just reward. But just Conyers being a small town, my memories of Old Town Conyers, which we're doing a lot today to try to bring that back. And we're having some successes, but as a child, you had everything in Old Town. You had your clothing stores, you had shoe stores, you had grocery stores, you had certainly the pharmacies and all that. And it was the lifeblood of the community, and it was a safe place. I mean, in kindergarten, a buddy of mine, we walked from the church and went to Beasley's drugstore and got our own milkshakes as a 5-year-old and paid for it ourselves. And it was fine, that just the small town atmosphere, the friendliness of Conyers, and then as you're growing older, your teenage years, we had the little small circle. Really, you had a Dairy Queen, you had a Tasty Freeze. So when you're old enough to drive, you're almost making circles between the Tasty Freeze and the Dairy Queen, and the guys that had the hot rod cars, everybody was envious of them, and it was just a good time growing up. And our mischief was just that. It was mischief. I mean, there was nothing malicious done in high school even. If you had a disagreement, then sometimes the coaches would just take you out to the ball field and, you scuffle around on the ground a little bit, but then you got up and everybody's friendly again. And we didn't have the troubling things that go on today and how our society's changed, and the effects of our growth, and also the effects of being as close as we are to downtown Atlanta. We were very, very rural, then we became suburban, and now we're dang near urban, especially with some elements that we have here now. But I have wonderful childhood memories of the city of Conyers in Rockdale County. Well, Interstate 20 did make a huge change in Conyers because my father actually had a used car lot on the north side of I-20, which today would be at the end of Green Street where it comes into Dogwood Drive. But that road continued over to Old McDonough Highway, and it was a huge shock for everyone when they closed off all the crossover roadways. And then you had to go to the bridges, the West Avenue Bridge, the 138 Bridge, the Salem Road Bridge. That began a huge change for Rockdale County. And then strip shopping centers popping up, Rockdale Plaza first, Salem Gate coming after that. Different style, as I said. We went from rural to more suburban. And then the 1996 Olympics. We were still rather small until the Olympics, and when we were fortunate enough to be able to be selected as an Olympic venue and to conduct that, be a participant with that, pull it off as successfully as we did, then our growth just exploded. I mean, then the hotels, motels, the Home Depots, the Walmarts, the big boxes, the growth in commercial areas, which was great, as far as growth and the economy, and with the city and county as far as the tax base increase in these things. But with that growth and that wealth that occurs, then you gain the other problems as well. Our crime statistics started up. We started having issues with things that we hadn't experienced here before, with the volume of thefts and shoplifting and other types of crimes. And our proximity to Atlanta, Fulton, DeKalb County, being on the interstate was a blessing in that you could get downtown very quickly or get to the airport very quickly. You could get to a lot of places faster than you could in the old days. But with that became that transportation route for criminals also, where that it was easy for them to come in, pick on us, and run back out. So that brought a lot of challenges. So with our successes after the early 90s and late 90s came a lot of challenges that we had to deal with and we're still dealing with today. Well, again, being fortunate to be chosen to have the Olympic event there, we had all the equestrian events. That was the first year that mountain biking was an Olympic sport. So we had all the mountain biking and then 2 events, the modern pentathlon. It brought a lot of attention to us. You know, we competed 16 of 17 days, which few venues did. We were the second most attended venue, second only to the track and field and Turner Field, where they had the opening and closing ceremonies. So we had a huge challenge, but it brought us a lot of interest and globally, because you know the equestrian events can be associated with royalty, and we had a lot of royalty visit with us during that period of time. But we were one of the few, and now, in my opinion, the only venue that is still operating as was designed for the '96 Olympics. We put a lot of effort into that. Our city manager at the time, Roland Vaughn, put a lot of effort into an investment by the city in order to make facilities permanent. You know, the organizing committee, for the most part, the venues were temporary, but we made a lot of expenditures in order to make it permanent because we knew we wanted to continue to operate. And even today, in the year 2020, we have over 300 events a year, and about half of those are equestrian events. But we do a little bit of everything, from concerts to dog shows to car shows to festivals. We have the consignment things that we do, whether it's with sporting types of things or baby clothes. You know, we have a lot of different things we can do because of the venue and how we've got it set up, especially with the multi-purpose barn that we have in place to do many different things. And then we still host a lot of weddings and private events and that sort of thing at our carriage room and legacy room. But we've continued to operate. It's been a bit of a challenge. We're 7 years old now with the facility, so they're requiring some rehab. But we fully intend on continuing to operate. We're still booking even in these couple of recessions that we had to move through. God knows this year with COVID in 2020 has been a huge challenge. We've had a lot of events canceled, but we've got a lot of interest going back in now. Just this week we booked a concert for Halloween weekend, and which is interesting, you know, especially in 2020 in this COVID event that we've had to deal with. But we're very proud of the Georgia International Horse Park. The mayor and council's always been very protective of it, as well as our Arnold Palmer designed golf course that is fully operational since 1995, before the Olympic event, and it's a premier golf course, still bearing the Palmer name, and it's in incredible condition right now. So we, the city council, the mayor, has always taken great pride in that, and it's an investment that we think was well worth it. We do have international prominence and international recognition, hence the Georgia International Horse Park. But not only the equestrian side and the trails that we've maintained, and they're still open for people that want to have leisure horse rides and that sort of thing, but the mountain biking, as you pointed out, you can still come ride the same course that the Olympians rode in 1996, and yes, it was a tough course. I do remember some of the top athletes at the time, they were debating on whether it was the toughest course or the second toughest course they'd ever ridden, but I know during the games especially, God, I'll never forget, it was July the 30th, that we had the mountain biking finals, and it was about 100 degrees that day, and those athletes had to make those laps, which they were over 6 miles per lap, and they had to make 3 full laps. And the elevation change out there from down at the river to the top of the ball rocks that's up on the exposed granite areas was a 250-foot elevation change in their 6-mile loop. And the race is three laps. So the Olympians said it was quite the challenge. And we still today have former Olympians come, either equestrian Olympians or mountain bikers that come out and ride the course still today. Just that we're, Conyers, we've always been flexible and adaptable. I remember that from my young law enforcement career. One of my bosses said that one time, you have to be flexible and you have to be adaptable. And we've been that way in Conyers. We've grown, we've adapted to that. Our diverse community we're very proud of. The demographics in our community has had a complete shift over this past 20, 30 years. I think we've been very accepting of that. Conyers Rockdale has always had good cooperation between all ethnicities. I think Coach Stroud, when you speak with him, he was very much involved in the 60s with the civil rights movement, and we had zero problems in Conyers Rockdale in the 60s when some of our neighbors close to us were having riots and these kinds of things. But our leadership here on both sides of the issue got together, made good decisions about how we would proceed, and we went to full integration with no trouble whatsoever. And still today, I'm very good friends with some of the first graduates of Rockdale County High School that came from the former J.B. Carr, which was our all-black school at the time. And we've enjoyed those successes over the years, and I think we will continue to, because having the single municipality in Rockdale County and the cooperation with the county leadership and city leadership and with our community and our faith-based community, we get the job done. And that makes me proud to be from Rockdale County.